back to Crazy Dave's Kitchen, where today, with barbecue season coming up swiftly, well, eventually anyway, if you live in Chicago area, today we're going to be making whole wheat hamburger buns from scratch. So today I've got a few ingredients here. It's pretty simple, or seems like a pretty simple recipe. I've got a half cup of warm water, which I already have in the mixer bowl. And I also put the yeast in there as well. So that's 2 packets, 2 envelopes of active dry yeast with the warm water. And I kind of mixed it up a little bit with a spoon, and that's kind of dissolving. That kind of dissolves for 5 minutes or so, just so it can start getting a little bubbly. I also have 2½ cups of whole wheat flour. Can't have whole wheat hamburger buns without whole wheat flour. I've got, here we go, 2¼ cups of all-purpose flour. That's just your standard everyday flour. I've got 1½ teaspoons of salt. I have 2 eggs, and I also have 1/4 cup of sugar, and I have 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, just room temperature, softened really is all we need. It doesn't have to be hard or anything like that. And also on the stove I have 3/4 cup of milk. I just used 2% milk, and that's just, again, just warm. You don't have to have it boiling, doesn't have to be super hot. So inside of the mixer bowl here, we are going to add the whole wheat flour, just like so. We're also going to add our sugar and our salt and our eggs. 2 eggs. Did I mention 2 eggs? Maybe. I can't remember. And the butter. So. And then we're also going to add the milk. So I'm just going to walk over by the stove here, grab the milk. Again, I had it in a saucepan. Pour that in. And we are going to mix this just with our mixer paddle. Just like so. And we're going to mix this for, I don't know. We're going to mix this for about 4 to 6 minutes. So I'm not going to make you sit here and watch for 4 to 6 minutes, but we'll come back when we switch over to our dough hook. And once that's in, we're going to add our all-purpose flour. So we're just going to add that on top to lock in our dough hook. And now we're going to knead this for about 4 minutes, 6 minutes, until it becomes, until it all forms into a nice dough. So we're just going to knead this, and you'll see this kind of come together. We've all seen this happen before. This will eventually pull away from the sides of the bowl and form a nice ball of dough, which we'll then put into a greased bowl, and we're going to let that rise for about 45 minutes. So we'll see you back here once this all kind of forms and gets back together. Okay, so here we are. Our dough is kneaded, and that first mix, by the way, a caveat to that we're supposed to just mix that for 2 minutes. 2 minutes with all the ingredients before adding the all-purpose flour. So now that this is all nice and kneaded and put together and formed a nice ball of dough, we're going to do our standard procedure. I have a greased bowl right here. We're going to coat the top, of course, like so the dough doesn't dry out. And we're going to let this sit in the bowl for 45 minutes to an hour. Until it's about doubled in size, and then that's where the fun part comes of dividing the dough out into the hamburger buns. So we're going to be using a little scale, measuring things out, rolling things into balls, making them flat, let them rise again a second time, and then we'll be ready to bake our homemade whole wheat hamburger buns. Okay, so our dough has risen. Here it is. We're going to just punch it down, and then we are going to form it into balls and then form it into flats. I have a scale right here, and we're going to set the scale to grams, and we're going to take 100 grams of the dough, maybe a little over, yeah, about 100, and then we're going to form it into a ball. And once it's formed into a ball, nice smooth ball, we're going to use the palm of our hands, and we're going to form it into approximately a 4-inch round. You'll see it'll come about. I have a measuring ruler on. If you have a ruler, sorry, lying around the house, that would be great. I have a measuring ruler built into my bench scraper, and if you just press it down into a nice round, just like so, and then just check to see where we are. So here's 0, and there's 4, so that's about 4 inches around, and that's exactly where we need it to be. We're going to set that aside, and then just continue to carry on throughout the dough here, measuring it off to be 100 grams, or close to. If it's a little over 101, 102, 103, it's not really going to matter. There will be a little bit of dough left over afterwards, but again, just roll it into a little round and then flatten it out with the palm of your hand to approximately 4 inches round, smooth. And once we get through all of these, it's going to be a little time consuming. You're going to let it rest for about 40 minutes or so on a baking sheet with some parchment paper. And then after that, we'll put an egg wash on there and some sesame seeds. So you'll see this is probably the most time-consuming part of making the buns. But once this part is finished, it's all kind of easy street from that point. So again, roll it up, get it to about 4 inches round. That's about close enough. And then, like I say, we'll set it on a baking sheet and go from there. So we'll see in a little bit once these have risen, and we'll do the egg wash, and then we'll bake them, and you'll see this will come out really nice. So these are, again, whole wheat hamburger buns made from scratch. We'll see in a little while. Okay, so after we made the rounds and we let it rise for about 40 minutes, you can see they're a little puffy now. And what I have here is just a little egg wash. I have one egg beaten with a tablespoon of water, and you just lightly brush that on top, and then sprinkle on some sesame seeds. You can also use poppy seeds. You could use minced onions. That everything bagel spice would probably be really good on these buns as well. And so we're just going to put the egg wash on there, and that's some sesame seeds. Just going to sprinkle some on there, and then we'll pop these into the oven for about 17 minutes, 13 to 17 minutes. I found 17 worked pretty well. I'm going to bring out the ones I made earlier. I made some earlier, and you see how these These were on the upper rack. They turned out pretty nice. The seeds stick on there. These were on the lower rack. It was maybe a little bit too close to the bottom of the oven. They're a little burnt on the bottom, but lesson learned. I moved the rack. But these are really nice buns. There was a sacrificial one that I ate a little bit earlier, and it turned out really good. Really light, really fluffy. Again, Crazy Dave's Kitchen, homemade hamburger buns. You could also make slider buns if you just take, so we got 12 out of the mix of the dough. If you want to make slider buns, you'll just measure those out to be 50 grams instead of 100 grams of dough, and then you'll have a smaller piece of dough, so you'll just smash it down to about a 2-inch circle, and those will make a little nice slider buns. If you're having a slider, you know, if you're in the mood for sliders or whatever, these are great for. These are going to be used today for hamburgers and chicken sandwiches, and I'm sure it'll go over really well. So there you go. Whole wheat hamburger buns made from scratch right here in Crazy Dave's Kitchen. Thanks again. Keep on watching, and we'll see you next time.